This is a great idea. So you're live, it says. Looks like there's people already in here. Hi, all. Hey, James. Dan and James. Good to see you, bro, if you are still there. I've just seen these now. What is it? We're 1 minute ahead of schedule, which is good. That's if you guys are still there. Thumbs up. Hope you and your family. Yeah, we've had a great week. Thanks very much, Dan. Yep. Likewise to you and yours, bro. Appreciate it. Thank you. Just got a few questions in here, which I'll use this time. I'll kick it off. Oh, it's 7 o'clock now. So anyway, I'll start now. And people can watch it later if they choose to watch it later, or people can just chime in. But first, thank yous, everybody that may have taken the time to join in. And yeah, any time that you've given to the channel. This was just, I thought maybe I was trying to think of a way to sort of try to keep those within the community, particularly those that were generous enough with regards to the memberships, that were happy and willing to continue to support. I didn't want to lose too much connection, wanted to try to think of a way. This is one of those ways where I just thought I'd offer a weekly sort of, not check-in, but a weekly sort of Q&A, bounce a few ideas backwards and forwards, but pretty much on the back end of the questions and stuff that have come through. So I'm still working with a handful of people. Some of them have still got a bunch of questions, and some of those questions, rather than doing Q&A videos each time, I thought maybe I might use some of the time that I have available on the week. So Fridays is good, and that's what kicked off the Frontline Fridays, to run through some of these. So anyway, I'm going to jump into these. I've got ended up grabbing 5 questions on the back end of what I was having a look at today. And the theme is pretty much in and around discipline and resilience, but I think it probably lends itself to a whole bunch of things, maybe training, maybe other bits and pieces or other stuff. So anyway, I'll jump into this. First one, I won't mention the people's names because obviously I think a number of them, not all of them, but a number of them got plans or goals to work towards doing what it is that they want to do with regards to selection and that sort of stuff. So I won't worry about mentioning any names. First one here has got, how do you stay consistent when motivation is gone? And I think I've done a few videos on consistency and motivation, discipline, etc. And then they've got here, for example, after a long day at work, I know I should train, but I just feel wrecked. How do you push through that? So cool question. Thank you for that. You're probably not alone in that space. Consistent when motivation is gone. Yeah, it comes down to discipline with regards to that, and setting yourself some targets, having a structure and stuff in place. This is just my 2 cents, my take for what it's worth. Feel free to chuck in anybody that might come along, want to add in your experience, if you've got those as well that you want to add to it. But having a structure and stuff in place, putting things in place so that you know that these are your non-negotiables for whatever those things are. So if you're struggling with the training in this case, how do you stay consistent when motivation is gone? This was in regards to training. For example, after a long day, I know that I should train, but I just feel wrecked. I'd say start small. You know that you've got to train. You're saying here that you know that you should train. Clearly you want to train, but you're a bit tired from work, and that happens for all of us, regardless of what it is that we're doing. I'm doing YouTube full time. I still feel tired, even though, by and large, it's me sitting down, reacting to a lot of videos, doing a bunch of stuff in behind the scenes, but then making time to train. But I enjoy that. I've developed that habit, and that consistency and that discipline is helpful for me, and it helps take my mind off things. But in terms of starting small, man, maybe just start with getting your socks and shoes on. Or if you've come back from work, getting dressed into your clothes that you're going to train in. That might be the first step. You're still not feeling it. You still may not be wanting to get up and train. Whatever it is you've got planned to do, maybe it's to do a run, maybe it's to do a walk, maybe it's to do a gym session, whatever it is, put yourself in that environment. If it's to do a gym lifting session, then go to that gym. If you have to travel there, or if you've got it at home, go sit in that space. For me, I'm lucky. I've just got it out on the doorstep, so I can go and do that. If it's to do a walk, then just get out and start walking. Walk away from home, or get on the treadmill if you're lucky enough to have a treadmill, and start walking on the treadmill. Things will start to, you'll grease the groove, so to speak, and things will start to warm up, and you will find yourself going, A, I'm in it now, so I might as well keep going. And B, you will start to enjoy it. And by the end of it, I've never completed a training session and gone, I wish I didn't do that. I've not met anybody, or maybe not anybody. I think I've not met many people. I think there's been activities that we've done and gone, man, I wish I didn't do that, but I'm glad I did it. In hindsight, I think there's a power in that. So just make a start small, whatever it is. Put yourself in that environment. So get dressed into the clothing that you're going to be training in. Put yourself in that environment. If it means traveling to the gym, get to the gym, go into the gym, and then just start small with whatever it is. Do some loosening up, warming up, whatever it is that you need to do. You should be doing that anyway, and then just crack into um, the work. How do you push through that? Those are some of the things that I've done over the years and that I'll still do to this day. Just starting small and get my socks and shoes on, get out and start walking, or get on the treadmill, start walking. Well, I have to walk on the treadmill now because the bloody thing's not working. So I have to power it myself. Or go out and start light, use a few bands, use some light weights, and then start pushing, pulling, dragging, lifting, whatever the situation calls for. But those are some of the things that I do, just to try to help with the consistency as far as that first question goes. Great question. I know I should do more, but work is my excuse also. Yeah, yep, you wouldn't be alone. Christian Maver. Hey James, hello from Perth. Hey, respect Christian, James, Dan, good to see you. And hello to those over in Perth. Hopefully it's all nice and sunny over there. So that's the first one. How do you, or that's how I do it. Anybody that has, if there's things that you do to stay consistent when motivation is gone for you, and the example that's been given in this question is, for example, after a long day at work, I know I should train, but I just feel wrecked. I've received that question from people that are doing shift work. I've received that question from people that have got steady, structured hours week to week, and they still, they still have those moments where it's very difficult and hard to. So find what works for you. Take on board, that discipline is a massive part. If you develop that habit and just make it a non-negotiable and stick at it, man, it does become easier and easier. What have I got on? Christian, spot on. After work, the hardest thing is to get to the gym. Just go on autopilot, drive there. Once you get going, you're good to go normally. Yep. Yeah, I agree, man. Going to be a heck of a game in your city tomorrow, Christian. Yeah, I reckon. Yep, the second Bledisloe Cup match. That'll be there's quite a few Kiwis in that over there, so I'm sure there'll be a good turnout. So that's that one. Thank you for that as well, Christian, with your input on there. Yeah, I agree, man. Second one that I've got is what's the best way to rebuild discipline after a setback? Like when you've fallen out of routine for weeks or months, where do you even start again? Oh, that's a cool question. So I think depending on what the setback is, so that whether the setback is any number of things, right? It could be injury, it could be just being flat out lazy, or having an excuse, always finding an excuse to not do something. It could be relationship challenges. It could be any number of things. It could be a health diagnosis from whatever's been happening, an illness, etc. And so, depending on what the setback is, may probably plays a part in terms of getting back on the wagon, so to speak, to rebuild the discipline as per this question here after a setback. So take stock of what that is, because it will be different for each person. There may be some similarities, but yeah, depending on what it is for your situation here, and I won't get into the details of this person, but best way to rebuild discipline after a setback. When you've fallen out of routine for weeks or months. One thing that I found that's worked for me, because I think it's happened to all of us, I'm no different, is just start. As soon as you've made the decision, or it's entered your mind that you've been whatever slack, or you've fallen out of the routine, or your discipline has been waning for whatever reason, then just start that moment, that day. So if you wake up in the morning, as an example, and go, man, I've been slack, I usually would get up and train, I haven't been doing it, then start that day. Don't wait until I'll start next week. Don't put it off until next week, next month, or whatever, or until after this event, or I'll wait until after the birthday party because there's going to be a big feed, or I'll wait until after this farewell party, or I'll wait until after this celebratory event because there's going to be alcohol and whatever else there. I think my experience has been just start then. You've identified it, you've clocked it, which is good. So just make a start there and then, whatever that is for you. So again, it might mean starting small. It might mean just doing a walk. It might mean doing a bike. It might mean doing some sort of low impact, because depending on how long you've been out of the um, routine for weeks or months, your body's more than likely not going to be at the same standard or level of where it was. So going too hard too soon might be just as detrimental, may potentially cause injuries and may make it worse, may set you back longer, etc., etc. So I do think it's important to start as soon as you can, straight away, preferably, and start small, depending on how long your setback or your break has been, and then start chipping away, rebuild, and then get back into it. Clock back in, zone back into those non-negotiables, and stick to that path again, and get back on the warpath, so to speak. Um, where do you even start again? Yeah, so start there and then start based on what your ability is, or if you can't run because you're still injured or whatever, or you're nursing an injury, then walk. If you can't do that, then swim, then bike, or do some sort of elliptical cross trainer low impact thing. If you can't do lower body, do upper body. Use the rower, use a airdyne, use a ski erg. There's a whole bunch of things. Lift weights, whatever. Make them light weights. There's a whole bunch of things that you can do, in terms of where do you start. And the best person to answer that question, I think, personally, is going to be the individual. You know, where are you feeling it the most, or where are you wanting to see improvement, whether that's a physical improvement or noticeable physical appearance, whatever it is, or whether it's mentally, or whether it's a combination of those things. So just, you should know where it is that you want to start once you've clocked, what your reason for the setback or setbacks have been, and then start small and chip away from there. What do we got? Let's go yellow. Drought. Once you force yourself to do it for a few days, it becomes part of routine and makes it a lot easier. Man, I agree. Thank you for that. Um, drought. I had some inspiration. This is Dan today. A CrossFit champ said, "How the hell do you lift rocks like that?" Nice one. For those that don't know, Dan works heavily with rocks and that sort of thing. Stone masonry. That's right, eh, Dan? Hopefully I got that right. But yeah, you're doing a fair bit of lifting and all that sort of stuff. But that can also be one of those things, and you've identified it as well. I think you've spoken about it. Got quite a physical job. Cool, got it, Dan. Yes, sir. Got quite a physical, labor-intensive job, and it can be, and it can maybe seem a bit easier to go. I've been lifting and moving all day. I don't really need to go to the gym. And then, slowly over time, we can all notice, all of us, that the kilos start to add up, and maybe our engine isn't as long lasting or as durable as it used to be. So although we might have labor intensive physical jobs, I think there's still a very much a value and a power in getting to the gym and doing something after. Doesn't need to be as heavy, may not need to be as intense, but getting in there and doing some more lifting or doing some sort of cardio aerobic activity is only going to help. And it's going to help with your work. It's going to help with the long run in terms of whatever it is that you're choosing to do outside of work, performance wise, and being useful, and being, yeah, harder to slow down. I think the term that they use, people in that military space, or those that do a lot of strongman lifting stuff, there's a term that gets used in terms of being harder to kill. And that doesn't mean going to war, but just, I think, just in terms of in general life, moving around. And when you're fit, fast, and strong, and you feel fit, fast, and strong, and capable, there's a confidence about. It doesn't guarantee anything, but there's a confidence about how you move, how you interact, situations that you're more confident to put yourself into, if that makes sense. Not that you're going out looking for trouble or anything like that. That's not what I mean. It's just that if something does happen or comes or ends up being on your radar or in your sphere in terms of where you might be in that moment in time, you have a level of, well, I think anyway, my 2 cents, I think you have a level of confidence to be able to respond and or react and or preempt, things and hopefully avoid bad things. Hopefully that makes sense anyway. What we got? Yeah, I'm in the worst shape of my life, and work is no longer my. I need to work harder for sure. Nah, cheers, Dan. Got you, bro. You would not be alone, brother. There'd be a number of people that, yeah, that are probably in the same boat. So, yeah, that's part of wanting to go through these questions in this Frontline Friday and just spiel and talk, but also learn from those that want to add in their comments and that as well, if they want to. No pressure. I'm happy to just um, spitball and share my 2 cents for what it's worth. I think that was the second one. Yeah, we've covered off on that. When you're falling out of routine for weeks, months, where do you even start? Cool. Just start. Make a start. The third one that I've got here: how do you deal with negative self? Yeah, how do you deal with negative self-talk when training or preparing for something tough? So obviously, some people that I'm working with regards to selection have had this question. I've had this question come up a fair bit in those one-to-ones. Then they've got that voice that says, you're not good enough, just quit now. The instructors don't like you, you're not passing anyway. How do you fight it? So really good question. Everybody's going to be different. What have we got here? James, brother, the gym workouts you did in 2009, were they typically what you and the bros did in the unit? Good question. Now I'll come back to this number 3. Probably once we were in, yeah, for the most part, some of that stuff was probably pretty standard, probably pushing the not limits, but definitely for me, I was redlining on a lot of training sessions, and I I wasn't real smart about it. So I thought every session needed to be hard. I thought every session needed to be lung busting, lifting as heavy as I could. So I was um, doing the Bulgarian system for a while, and I did get a lot of good results for me with regards to my squat numbers and all that sort of stuff. So I never hit the magical 200, but I got up to 190 on my back squat as an example for 1 rep. Um, but it probably wasn't smart. I was overtraining. I sort of zoned in on the Bulgarian method. I was like, oh, lift heavy every day, try to hit a PR every time, and okay, that's good. And I was working on building my strength, which I saw some good improvement, while still making sure that I was out and running. But I didn't realize probably the wear and tear and the strain that I was putting on my knees at that time and my Achilles, and so hence, I think a lot of my Achilles stuff, not only from the basketball, like still trying to play, still dreaming, thinking that I'm playing good basketball, running, jumping around, still lifting heavy, running hard, and doing all those things because I thought that's what I needed to continue to do. So it's been a bit of a wake up call as the body gets older, and then nursing some of the injuries, which I'm still working through this knee at the moment, but glad that that's making some progress. So, yeah, there was typically a good, healthy dose of hard sessions in the regiment and the unit, and there was also some lighter sessions, but I sort of lost sight of that and just went, no, everything needs to be hard and heavy and fast. So, learnt my lesson from that over the years, and I think if I didn't pick that up or learn that over the years, yeah, I'd probably not be moving the way that I'm fortunate and blessed to be able to move right now. Um, what do we got here? Love that reaction on the general secrecy. Spot on, especially the fat soldiers, etc. And PTs at my gym. I'm constantly shaking my head. The clients look better than the PT. Yeah, than the personal trainer. Oh man, yeah, it's not a good look, eh? I get it. I could understand from because there's been some people that said, "Oh, what about West Side Barbell?" Louis Simmons, something like that. World renowned, knows what he's doing. Super super strong. Got a gym full of massive, incredible athletes that lift incredible amounts of weight. They may not look like I suppose the perceived, a fit, athletic, sort of capable person, but clearly they're significantly strong, right? So I suppose what I should have mentioned and didn't mention is likely it depends on what you're after. You don't have to, you don't have to look the business to have the knowledge and to have the know-how to be able to help somebody else achieve their goals either. So that's something that I put my hand up. I apologize. I neglected to acknowledge that reality. So there are a number of coaches that may not look what might be perceived as the goods or the business or fit, fast, and strong, but they are more than capable and and highly talented and skilled and got the track record to show the people that they have helped reach their goals. So a bit of probably foot and mouth on my part in terms of that comment, but still, I am quite quick to judge. And I know for me, if I'm going to somebody to get some advice on training and all that sort of thing to improve, I'm typically not going to somebody that looks overweight, or I'm not going to somebody that is super strong, way stronger than I could ever hope to be. If that's all they can do, I'm looking for somebody that has a bit more all-round holistic type approach to their training and health, and what I can draw from that for me. So again, whatever floats your boat, I guess, is probably the other aspect that I should have mentioned. So yeah, but as far as a firefighter coming, if I've got a fire going, or police officers coming, if I'm calling them, or first responders, like, I'm not looking for a fat overweight person to come to deal with whatever the situation is, or to assist or help. It's just right or wrong. That's my take. um, True, Joe. But a personal trainer, to me, your body is your advertisement to prospective clients. If you can't be disciplined, how can you tell me? Yeah. Yep. I hear you, bro. And I agree with that as well. Yeah, I'm still wired that way. I just, yeah, had those thoughts after reading your comment, and then also being reminded of some of the other comments that people have said. And, each to their own. If that's what they prefer to go to, all good for them. Um, so dealing with negative self-talk. For me, and I'll approach this from the perspective of a couple of things. One, my approach to selection, and then two, my approach to training, even to this day, and what I've done in training in the past. Some of that negative self-talk, and I suppose one of the realities that I learned fairly quick, and listening to and working with other people much smarter than me in similar lines of work, and or people that have done maybe not similar line of work experience, but have been high performing in other areas. They shielded me and spoke about, uh, understanding that failure is always an option. So that talk around failure is not an option, all that sort of thing. I probably brought into that a little bit myself before I went on to selection. But I sort of contradicted myself at the same time, in terms of, I was thinking failure is not an option, but at the same time, I also realized and knew that I could very much fail selection because of not meeting the requirements, or because of my lack of maturity, or because of my lack of experience in the military. So on one side, I'm saying failure is not an option. I'm going to go through it. The other hand, I'm saying and acknowledging that, yeah, I could potentially fail, and that was a reality. And here in NZ, that ultimately, that's what happened. I failed meeting that requirement to get into the unit here in NZ. Um, but with that, from the selection perspective, what I realized, and I went in there, I don't know if you call it negative self-talk. So even though I had in my mind that I could fail, I used that as an opportunity. So my talking to myself wasn't around if I pass selection. It wasn't if I get through this. It wasn't filled with ifs in my head, which I look back now, and it's not because I had any sort of inclination towards trying to improve and strengthen myself mentally or psychologically, because I wasn't wired that way. I wasn't thinking about any of that. My corridor, my comments, my conversations to myself was, when I get into the SAS, when I do this. And I think some people that have mentioned, it might have been you, Christian, or it might have been a couple other people that they've known, that's how they spoke about it. And that just reminded me, I was like, yeah, like I was the same. So there was a point on selection that I thought, or at the end of selection, and I've shared this in my one-to-ones with a few people, there was a point at the end of the New Zealand selection where I was just stoked that I had completed and got to the end. But before marching in front of the CEO and the panel and whoever else was going to be in there, I had already almost convinced myself that I wasn't going to be accepted to progress. So my conversation to myself changed from, when I get into the SAS, to, when I fail the panel or the review board, I'm going to go back to battalion, take those lessons, and then I'm going to reapply and come back again. until I get into the regiment. So, or until I get into the group, as it was known at the time. That was how I was wired. That was the conversations that I had. So I looked to remove that. Hello, girls. So I looked to remove that sort of wording or negative self-talk, for want of a better term, in this particular example, so that I could give myself the best opportunity. So just through tweaking and changing some of the wording or the self-talk to myself, it definitely helped. But I never knew or realized or understood how beneficial and or potentially how powerful that would be until I'm where I'm at now and looking back at that and then seeing a whole bunch of things. Hey, my girls. Until I'm looking back now and seeing a whole bunch of things that I've been lucky enough to get through, and then connected the dots and gone, heck yeah, if I didn't speak to myself that way, it may have been very different. It might have been like a number of other people that I know who are very, very good soldiers, but maybe their conversation or their internal dialogue was around the ifs, and they failed once, so they weren't going to go back again. They gave it a crack. They gave it their best, maybe is what they told themselves, and their best wasn't good enough, so they didn't go back. My conversation to myself was different. So I think the important part, long-winded answer for this first piece, is in and around reframing those and finding your reasons or understanding your reasons for wanting to get to where you want to get to in the first place. As I mentioned, a lot of people that I'm fortunate to sort of spend some time with are curious about finding how they can give themselves a bit of an advantage when it comes to selection to hopefully ultimately go on and serve in the regiment. And so that's why I lean on that piece first. The other piece that I was going to give, or the example around the negative self-talk, is in regards to today. Training, doing YouTube, uh, looking to reach out to people and or companies for whether that's a collaboration, whether that's for a sponsorship or whatever. There's lots of negative self-talk that I could throw at myself with regards to any and all of those. Relationship stuff, trying to build or rebuild. I've spoken about that as well. There's plenty of negative self-talk out there, and I suppose leaning on some of those, if I take training as an example, just training for myself, there's having the injury with my knee. Like I definitely don't feel as fit or as fast or as strong as what I do when I'm able to run. So for me, mentally, it's a bit of a challenge, because I don't like not being able to do something physically. And because I've always been fortunate, apart from major injuries whereby I've been out of action for a little bit and then I've been able to get back into it. Well, not having been able to run for such a lot, this is a way longer than I've ever been out of action for, in terms of not being able to run. I can feel the decline in my cardio ability, um, and that has a bit of an impact on me physically, mentally, etc. So that negative self-talk, I try to rewire that and just be grateful for what I am able to do. I'm still able to, and my knee is making great progress, like with the stuff on the treadmill and that today, and one of the sessions with the pack and the step ups and reverse step ups, etc. Like there's some really good progress with my knee. I feel like I could go out and run. There's no pain at all during or after the session. So it's a good sign for me, like I'm getting there. But the desire, the drive to want to just push it and start running because of how I've been feeling, I'm having to pull the brakes back on that, and try to look at the bigger picture, the longer term picture, so that I can carry on carrying a heavy pack. Carrying weight has not been an issue for the longest time. It's the jarring and the impact. So I need to do more of that, but I need to build the resiliency so that my joints and tendons and muscles and all that sort of stuff can deal with the impact. So I need to be a bit smarter about that, and still learning in the process. But with regards to that negative self-talk, why do I share that? Is because we all have it. And just trying to reframe that and looking at the bigger picture, for me anyway, has been helpful for me with regards to, even though I've been feeling the way that I've been feeling, from a physical ability perspective, I am now, over the last probably couple of days, starting to see the bigger picture and take more, um, have less and less negative thoughts and that around it, because I know if I wasn't being as disciplined and as consistent with my movement, blood flow, getting blood through the joints and circulation, etc., massaging, resting when I need to, in terms of the strain on the joint of my knee, that I wouldn't be where I am now. So even though I can see that, it's still been hard to bloody park that and or to listen to it, I should say, and get out and run, because I know I always feel a heck of a lot better, um, fitter, faster, stronger, etc. So hopefully that's making a little bit of sense. The negative self-talk, we all have that. How do you deal with it? It's, for me, it's how I structure that and what I choose to focus on. So if you and I'm assuming if we focus on the negatives, then we're usually going to get the negative outcomes, like what mountain bikers and that sort of stuff. When they're through the bushes, if they're focusing on the tree, they're probably going to smack into the tree. That type of mentality, those sorts of things, or little cues, I suppose, is what I have in my mind when I'm faced with um, those that people refer to them as demons, or those voices in your head starting to sort of bubble to the surface and telling you that you can't, or that you can, or that you can't do certain things. I like I mentioned, I could apply that to reaching out to people for potential sponsorships or collaborations, or doing YouTube in general. Um, I still get nervous with every reaction video. I get nervous with posting and uploading that. I get nervous with every live that I'm doing right now. Oh, sorry. What do we got here? Wouldn't it be something to have the body of a 22-year-old and the brain of a 40? Yes, it would, Dan. Yep. Perspective is the greatest gift, I believe. Yeah, love your comments. Yep. And I'm sure people will take away from that as well. So yeah, those how we frame it, and giving those things meaning, can definitely impact. But I think that's normal. I think it's okay to have um, the those thoughts that we might frame and term as being negative or negative self-talk, but then how we look to grab those and turn them to use them to our, hopefully to our advantage, and or sometimes to just give ourselves a bit of a kick in the backside and just move, just get up and do it regardless. Like when I'm feeling nervous about these lives, when I'm feeling nervous about the reaction videos and posting them, a thought that comes in my head is just bloody post it. You've already posted a few hundred videos already, so don't be silly. Just crack on and post it. Edit it to the way that you do it, and then just upload it. So those things, with the negative talk and all that sort of thing, grab those, reframe them, restructure them, and then then just attack it. Is what I would say. That voice that says you're not good enough, just quit now. So from a selection perspective, just going back to that, because these questions have come predominantly from people looking to prepare for that. Selection, if I haven't said this before, is intentionally designed to make you doubt yourself. It's intentionally designed to make you think and question whether or not you should be there. That's part of what it's designed to do. Yes, break you down physically. Yes, get in your head mentally. Excuse me, burping, sorry, and cause all of that doubt. It's designed to throw uncertainty at you. It's designed to throw challenges at you to see how you respond. All of that stuff is normal. So just know that if you are thinking and feeling like, oh, I don't know, I don't think that instructor or the directing staff likes me, I don't know how I'm doing, man, they're not giving me any sort of positive feedback. I think I'm failing anyway. Just know that everybody's feeling the same way. And again, you need to grip yourself up, and just work out for yourself how to deal with it. I can't give you a blueprint. I wish I could, but I don't know of, and I don't have a blueprint to go here. When you think this, then do XYZ. If you start thinking this, then do ABC. If they tell you this and they say it in this way, then you need to do this thing, or you need to respond this way. Like there's no if there is a blueprint and a template for how to do that in regards to every single situation, I've not heard of it or not seen of it. There is a part of selection in that process where they are assessing your ability to deal with stress, to deal with the ambiguity and the uncertainty, to deal with not only the physical stress but that mental stress and strain that is happening, because you're going to be exposed to a lot of that should you and if you make it into the regiment, should you get through the selection in the first place. So selection is all part of that. Know that you're not alone when you're going through those feelings and thoughts, and do your best to to crack on as best you can. Um, you're not good enough. Yeah, that's normal. Just quit now. You'll even not only is that sort of comment in your head, but you will have some staff from time to time. It may not be that often, but I have heard it firsthand during my selection in Australia. I did hear instructors saying to, maybe they were saying it to me, but I did hear them saying it to other candidates, um, to you might as well just quit now because you're probably not going to pass. You haven't prepared well enough. Like, there's all these sorts of things. I know I was spoken to a few times on selection over there, but I also understood that this is part of the process. Do I choose to listen to and believe what it is that they're telling me, or do I just suck it up and go, okay, yep, I'm in the hurt locker. It's okay for me to look like I'm struggling because I am struggling. And that's the whole point. If I'm not struggling and I'm cruising through, then that's probably not going to be a good look either, because then they're just going to probably beast me and everybody else even more. But those are normal things, people in my experience, and look to try to embrace those as well as you can and understand that it's part of the process. Even though I've shared this a number of times with people in one-to-ones, and I'm pretty sure I've heard this on other videos and I've spoken about it and other things that I've mentioned in the past, um, people still seem to come back and ask in the hopes of, it seems, fingers crossed, that there's some sort of magic recipe for it. And like I said, I don't have a magic recipe. You take that and you reframe it in your own head, understand that everybody's in the same boat. Everybody's tired, everybody's sore, everybody's cold, everybody's hungry, everybody's hot, everybody's whatever it is that you're feeling. Guarantee you everybody else on your course is feeling the same thing. So you need to learn how you're going to navigate that. How do you quieten those voices in your head that are telling you that you're not good enough and that you might as well quit, especially if you hear an instructor saying you might as well quit, you're not doing very well anyway? You're going to have to learn how to face that if and when that time happens for you as that individual on this from a selection perspective. Um, how do you fight it? You fight it. You find a way to go, I'm refusing to listen to that, to listen to what it is that you're telling me. And I'm going to put the onus back on you as the directing staff to kick me off the course. I'm going to put it back in your court. I'm not going to give you a free pass by filling out this withdraw at own request piece of paper and handing it over to you. I'm going to make you have to make the decision to kick me off the course. And that's as much as I can put that down to, as far as that one goes, in terms of fighting it. Sorry, I thought what's this one? Kana Talakai. Kia ora, Joe. Love your work, brother. Thank you. Appreciate it. Um, I was blown away with the reckoning, how deliberate everything was, and how you planned it out was. Oh, thanks for that, Dan. Appreciate it. How did you find it? You giving it a crack next year? That's. I'll leave you fellas to go through that. Question 4. Where are we? I'm going to do these last questions because it's been 37 minutes of me babbling, so I might as well do these last 2 questions. There's 5 in here. 4th one, how do you balance discipline with recovery? Okay, that's a good question. I might have alluded to some of that before in terms of my being silly and thinking that every session needed to be hard. So how do you balance discipline with recovery? Question mark. Sometimes I worry I'm being soft if I take a rest day. How do you know the difference between laziness and actually needing recovery? Okay, so I'll start from the back part and work up. How do you know the difference between laziness and actually needing recovery? I think any individual knows himself well enough. I definitely know when I'm just being lazy, and I know when I need to dial things back. An injury can force the understanding to recognize and eat a bit more humble pie and go, yep, I need to dial this back and think of the long term, but not let that be a reason or an excuse to be lazy. So I think that first part, starting from the bottom up, going back up to the top of your question, I think everybody knows when they're just being lazy. So don't be lazy. It sounds simple enough. I know it's not easy. Um, it's typically not easy if you haven't put the reps in, if you haven't practiced it and applied it. So if you are being lazy, you will know that, and you need to look to do something about it. Get your structure sorted, get your non-negotiables sorted, get your alarm clock sorted, and get up and get after and do whatever it is that you need to do. Sorry, I just got here. Favorite bit of the search for warriors: a candidate is dying, do a brutal do a brutal bar PT session. Trooper looks him dead in the face and asks, "Did you train candidate?" Yes, trooper. You didn't train. Oh, yeah. Actually, I remember you putting that in one of the videos, Christian. Thanks for dropping that in here again. Yeah, that is hard case. Yeah, you didn't train. And then James Christian, laughing face, obviously not enough. Yeah, you do get that. The during the selection, my experience anyway, the directing staff have a very good sense of humor, albeit dry humor for the vast majority of it. It's very rare to see them crack a smile because that's not part of the process. But every now and then you might come across a candidate or two that just you can't help but crack a smile because either they're doing something that just looks really ridiculous or they look really uncoordinated, or they maybe say something that just maybe catches you off guard. But hard case. Yeah, that was savage. Yeah, I bet. Um, where are we? So don't be lazy. You know when you are. The difference between, so sometimes I worry I'm being a bit soft if I take a rest day. Rest days, depending on what you mean by rest day. So some of these individuals that I've spoken with that have had similar questions in and around training, programming, progressive overload, and rest days, like actual rest days, where people have asked me, "Did you take a rest day, as in like full rest? You didn't do any training?" For me, there's about 3 days that I recall preparing for selection here in NZ where I had rest, and that's because I was sick. I I was I was in the bed, and I remember the sergeant actually let me just go back to the barracks. I think I went to the RAP, or the Regimental Aid Post Battalion. Might have got some drugs and medication, and then he let me go back. So I went back to the barracks, and I just slept, left my door unlocked. The Sarge came and opened up the door from time to time. Check, I was just racked out in the bed. I think I woke up a couple of times and the door would open, and he just closed the door. He'd ask, "Are you okay?" I'd be like, just sort of groggy and be like, "Yep," and then close the door. So, but every other time I still trained. It didn't mean that I was training hard. So didn't mean that I was doing every session hard. So that's where I suppose I should have known better with regards to James's earlier question and thinking that everything needed to be hard and fast. I think because I ended up in that environment, surrounded by people that were fit, fast, and strong, and many of them were much more capable than I was, I felt like the only way for me to try to catch up and or get to their level was to do everything hard and fast. So I sort of lost track of the understanding that I can't go hard all the time. So with regards to that training, yeah, there was some times off those 3 days where I was just crook, but the other times when I was working and training, there was definitely the hard sessions, and then there were what I would call recovery sessions in between. So recovery session might have been a nice easy swim for 20 minutes, then a nice easy bike or a row, and then some stretching. But I've still got blood flow in. I've still got that blood flow moving through the joints and that sort of thing. Still getting some stretching in. It's not high intensity, but it's still movement, and it's probably flushing some toxins or whatever out of my system, whilst still enabling me to get some work in, because I never felt, and I still to this day don't feel like I need to have a complete rest day. Like, oh my goodness, I've just been working and training so hard that I have to just do nothing this whole day. I have to just sit and watch Netflix, or just sit and just do the reaction videos, upload those, post them, and then just sit around and do nothing. I don't feel, I've never felt like that. I don't feel like I need to. Like, I can always do something, whether it's out on the rower, nice and light, whether it's going for a walk. Um, the walk doesn't have to be high intensity, but getting out and moving from a recovery perspective, if you want to do something as a recovery rather than just taking a full, I've got to have the whole 24 hours off because I've just been working so hard. Um, I don't think anybody needs to do that. I could be wrong, but I think you can still find ways to walk and move and or use a cross trainer or something to take the impact out, so you can still get some work in. And then the other part, how do you balance discipline with recovery? So yeah, that maybe that answers some of it. The discipline aspect for me is doing some sort of training each day. Some sessions are hard and higher intensity. Hasn't been so much higher intensity these days or these last weeks, months because of my knee. But it's been movement and it's been helpful nonetheless. It's been targeted for the most part and focused on trying to get my knee back to normal, back to as normal as I can, so that I can run again, so that I can do everything else that I want to do. And that has taken some time and it's taken longer than I would like, but it's definitely making progress, which I'm happy about. So um, understand what it is that you're trying to do. Take stock of where you're at. Be honest with where you're at. Have you really worked that hard the last 24, 48 hours or the last week that you have to have the next 24 hours or 48 hours of complete rest and just do nothing? I think I like to think the vast majority of people would probably end up at the same conclusion as where I'm at and go, yeah, no, I don't. I can still do something. It might be 20 minutes, it might be 30 minutes, it might still be an hour, whatever. But I think you can still get up and do something, not including the work, not including work, especially if you've got a very labor intensive job. So not including that, I'm talking about additional to that, which sort of lines up with the first question that was asked anyway. So that's that question. That's the fourth one. Sorry. What's this? James Joe put a gem in his workout video wrap up today. That resonates with me. Just be stubborn. Yeah. Just got online. Sup, Joe? Hey, Mr. Director. Good to see you. Well to Fabber. Appreciate your time and your support, bro. Hey, thanks for that, James. Where is it? The guy look minutes from death. No sympathy. Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. The last question here for this one of these five. When life throws curveballs like family challenges, stress, or unexpected events, how do you keep your routines and resilience strong instead of letting everything fall apart? What an awesome question. Um, I think for each of us, it's going to be our own sort of piece to navigate, right? But if I share, and those that have been following the channel will have a bit of an idea. We had a situation with one of our children, our oldest, who was in a hospital a few months ago. Self-harm. For those that may not be aware, that can hit like a ton of bricks. It's also, as sad as it is, it's not the first time for this precious individual, part of our family, our oldest. But hey, life happens for all of us, and including to our children, and we do our best to try to support them. So for me, and my wife would probably speak to this too, maybe the children as well. Yeah, unexpected events. How do you keep routines, resilience strong? A big part of my routine, and a large part of what I attribute to my own personal perception of my resilience, I attribute to my training. Um, it is a massive part of my life. It can, for a large part of my time there, it consumed me for a very, very long time, especially while I was still serving. To this day, it still consumes me. It's still at the forefront and at the back of my mind at the start of each day, during the day, at the end of the day. And by the end of the day, thinking about what I did the afternoon and thinking about what I'm doing the next day. So it's still pretty consuming. When things like that with regards to life and curveballs, whatever it is, so you've got here like family challenges, stress, etc. How do you keep your routines and resilience? I think, just speaking for me, because I've sort of hardwired that in. And there's a saying that I like. I heard this when I went over to Jim Jones over in Utah back in 2008. Mark Twight was still running Jim Jones back then. Those that don't know, Mark Twight and his team at the time were the ones responsible for training Gerard Butler and the crew for that movie 300. So I had the opportunity to go over there and spend about a month's time there training. But he mentioned something which has always stuck with me: practice makes habit. And then he went on to explain that, we're just picking stuff up and putting it down in terms of a gym setting and what they were doing. There's obviously science and programming and progressive overload and all that sort of stuff that they had to it, as well as nutrition. So he's very dialed in on all that sort of stuff. But that practice makes habit has always stuck with me. And I think I'm grateful for the practicing of getting the training and something in each day. It may not be very long just because of the time and nature of it. Coming back to that example, that particular curveball, we're there early hours in the morning, spending time there with our child, with our daughter, making sure that she's okay, then there's an opportunity, right? There's an opportunity because you can only sit by the side of the bed for so long, and like there's mum and dad are here, we can swap out for a period of time. Need to get cleaned up, all that sort of stuff. Get something to eat, etc. So there are, as much as there are excuses to not do things, there's opportunities and reasons to actually do things as well. So my wife and I worked it out. She was going to go back, get cleaned up first, and then come back to the hospital. So she went, I stayed, and she comes back, and I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to go and train first. I'm going to go train, then I'm going to get cleaned up, then I'm going to come back. Now, I only got to do one session that day. That's okay because, things happened, and it wouldn't have mattered if I only got 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I could have done something at the hospital, but where we were in the area probably wasn't ideal and probably wouldn't have been appropriate. So, worked out that we could do it this way. Meant that it took me a little bit longer to get back to the hospital. But knowing that our daughter was all right and that my wife was still there, I was able to work through that. So having that, why do I share that? Having practiced that to the point whereby it is a habit for me, regardless of what it is, to get something um, in my experience goes a long way and has gone a long way for me. It may not be the best example to share, but everybody's curveballs are going to be different, and or what you and I might consider to be a curveball. What I just described may not be a curveball for anybody. What somebody else might describe, I might not consider that a curveball. Curveballs could be losing a job. Curveballs could be struggling, getting knocked back on a job interview or job interview after job interview. It could be a family member or friend passing away. It could just be watching something on the media which just really grinds your gears and makes you really upset, something that you weren't prepared for, or whatever. So it could be any number of things. I don't have the answers to all of those, but for me, when life throws curveballs and like family challenges, stress, or unexpected events, how do you keep your routines and resilience strong ahead of letting everything fall apart? I do, to a degree. There is a moment there where you need to be somewhat selfish and prioritize some time for you. That might be 15 minutes, it might be 30 minutes, it might be longer in terms of from a physical outlet perspective. That's what I choose to do. And then it doesn't mean that your routine is reset and that everything is back to normal, because our routine for a few days after that wasn't back to normal. Still thoughts, heart and mind with our daughter, check-ins, more frequent check-ins. Shouldn't need to have something like that happen before that happens, but that's what happened. um, Taking time and making more specific appointments to spend time with her and take her out and go out with her, which has been great, which was great. um, so all of those things, the routine, for me at least anyway, doesn't magically stay steady. It's disrupted. I've got to find a way to keep the habits that I've developed over the years, to try to keep those going. And it might mean, instead of getting 2 sessions in, I can only get one. Or in some cases, one session I might term as a half a session, because I didn't get to spend my whole hour or 45 minutes or whatever the case might be. But it's still something. And for me, that helps keep things moving along as well as they can for that time, considering that there's a big blip on the radar, or big blinking crevasse that has just popped up in the life scheme of things, that I now have to navigate or try to build a bridge across, or whatever analogy you want to use, and find a way to get through that, and then try to get back to base, or get back to some sort of normal, what you might deem to be normal for you. So yeah, it's hard, everything falling apart. I suppose what I would end on is that um, that's going to happen, eh? That's just part of life for everybody, for all of us. Oh, sorry, what's this? Oh, director, thank you very much, man. When's the Mac VSOG coming out? I've been doing some reactions to those, to what's his name, John Striker Meyer. So I've actually already uploaded some of those, but I'll have a look after, and then give you a heads up, director. So where was I? That's on the Mac VSOG. So John Striker Meyer, I think, on the Sean Ryan show. His is the first one that I've seen anyway. Done a few reactions to his so far. A few hours to get through, but we'll get there. Sorry, I've deviated off track. Yeah, sorry, what I was talking about. Like at some stage for all of us, it's going to feel like, I should say, life is falling apart, and maybe for that particular period of time, it might feel like that. It might feel just like I mentioned at the end of my videos. It may feel lonely, miserable, heartbreaking, even. Um, but I've found and come to learn over the years, it's only temporary. It's not going to last forever. Things can do and will get better, and as long as we want them to. And I know for me, I always want things to get better, even though the timing for when those things sometimes get better may not happen within the time frame that I want or that I choose. I know that if I keep turning up, and that if I just stay persistent, stubborn, consistent, disciplined as I can, try and reframe and restructure things in my head and try to stay as positive as I can, my experience has been is that things have always gotten better. Um, been through the ups and downs of, as we likely all have, starting a business, pulling out of the business, going into multiple jobs, being declined a whole bunch of job offers, being offered jobs, fallen not out of love, but being a bit disheartened or not satisfied in those jobs and roles. Like it's a whole gambit of things, family things, relationship things. My wife and I have touched on some of that. We've separated a few times, um, like been on the brink of divorce. Like there's a whole bunch of things that happen where it can feel like your life is going to fall apart. Had challenges with some of my children, and one of them more recently, which I've spoken about in other videos when this channel was pretty early, and I was reacting to one of DJ Shipley's interviews on the Sean Ryan show. Thankfully, I've mended that relationship, and things are going awesome. But you know what I know is that things always get better if you want them to, and I know I want them to get better, and I just have to be stubborn and persistent enough and practice enough and get enough reps in for those things to happen. So yeah, I don't know if that answers the question well enough, but it's what I've got in terms of, you're right, it's what I've got in terms of the fifth question. When life throws curveballs like family challenges, stress, or unexpected events, how do you keep your routines and resilience strong instead of letting everything fall apart? And if I didn't mention, I think I did, there is a point you do have to be somewhat selfish to a degree with some of that. If I wasn't selfish to a degree with regards to holding on to the physical outlet that I need, or that I've attributed to me needing throughout my life over the years, which has always helped me, whether it's a release of endorphins, whether it's releasing bad juju, whatever you want to call it, through sweat, maybe a little bit of anger sometimes with some of the training, um, hitting a bag. Not that I have a post to hang our bag up, but that sort of stuff. There's still other things that I can throw and take my anger and frustration out on. If I wasn't selfish in protecting that and looking to implement that, maybe for me, things may not be, I might not have the outlook that I have. But because I like to think I've got enough runs on the board with that, and a whole bunch of different, I suppose, hardships, for want of a better term, curveballs, as per the question, I'm confident that you and I, that we can get through whatever those challenges are, whatever those curveballs are. So try to be a bit selfish and prioritize some of whatever that is for you. Maybe it's prioritizing some reading. Maybe it's not physical activity. Maybe it's camping. Maybe it's, I don't know, shooting. Maybe it's whatever, whatever it is for you, that that thing. And I think Harry Moffat talks about it, finding and having a third thing. You've got your work, or you've got your family, you've got your vocation with your work, and then having a third thing. His third thing was cricket. So finding that other thing, protecting that as much as you can, being what may be perceived as selfish in terms of your protection of that, and using that to your advantage to help you navigate your way through whatever those challenges are, or whatever those curveballs are. I hope that makes sense. I've rambled on long enough, 58 minutes. Hey, cheers, Christian. Appreciate your comments. How did you do PT when you were deployed? Oh, yeah, so that was pretty easy. So when you're in the forward operating base or in the FOB, You have opportunity to train because you're just basically doing your rehearsals, getting orders, getting situation updates of your AOs or area of responsibility where you're going to be going or area of operations. So when you're not involved in briefings and you've got all your kit sorted, you get up, you do PT. When you're deployed, when you're out on operations, and we were out for several months in the Western Desert, as an example, and or in Timor, when you're out on patrol, um, those scenarios are different. Timor, in the close country, in the jungle, thick, dense bush, you're not doing any training. Like, you're not doing push-ups, you're not doing sit-ups, you're not doing squats. Those hills were steep enough and hard enough, and carrying 14 liters of water minimum per person, along with all the other gear. Like, you're carrying a heck of a lot of weight, and you're working, and you're dripping with sweat. So when you're patrolling in the bush for those periods of time, you're getting some level of training in there. It's not running fit, but you're pack fit. And you can typically, when you get back and have a bit of a break, you can get that running and stuff back in. So that's what we would do in Timor, as an example. I don't think it would be too different to what people do these days when they're deploying. You take advantage of the opportunity to get PT in when you're back in base camp. When you deploy, depending on the environment that you're in, you focus in on the job. If it's an urban environment and you're holed up in a position and you're doing OPs or an observation post or whatever, you might have opportunities to do some body weight stuff when you're having a break while other people are doing the sentry and all that sort of thing. For us out in the desert, there is opportunity to do some push-ups, to do some squats. When you're out in the desert, when you've got people manning the guns and other people there, there's an opportunity. Obviously, as long as that's okay with your leaders. And typically it was. So you just find opportunities and moments to get some training in where it's appropriate, where it's safe, and where you're able to do so. Depends on the situation. So hopefully that helps answer that one. That's a good one, but codename Dynamite is the best one. Just want to say your channel has helped motivate me through my appreciate you, bro. You're welcome. World of Fabber, Mr. Director. Man, if it helps, I'm stoked. And thank you very much once again, your kind Lincoln, the donation that you've made, man. Appreciate it. Top tier episode. Thank you. You're welcome. This was great, Joe. See you at the next one. You're welcome, team. Thank you all very much. Gone over an hour. Sorry about that. Much love and respect to you all. Appreciate you, eh? And we'll see you on the next Frontline Friday if you're here. Sorry, I got the wall and stuff behind me. Couldn't do a mana wave properly, or couldn't do the actions properly. Anyway, I'll see you, eh? Right. End stream. Woohoo! Girls, all right? Yeah. How was your fella's day? Boring.